All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you how to assemble your radial design. So remember in the last video, I cut out all the pieces. Okay, I changed my clover here a little bit. And now I'm going to show you how to assemble them. So first of all, remember what we talked about with layers in the layers introduction. Okay, so here's all my layers with all of my images. I also have the shooting star. And my advice to you is to turn off the ones you're not actively using. So what you should probably do is pick the one you're going to start with. I'm going to start with this clover one, okay? And I'm going to turn off the rest. Okay. And then what you really want to do is make sure that you turn on your grid. That will help you get everything nice and even. So I'm going to go to View, Show, Grid. You'll notice the shortcut for this is Control apostrophe. And I'll show you why that's useful later. So turn my grid on, and now I can move my clover shape here pretty freely. So what I want to do is I want to get it aligned right in the center of my grid. So that looks like it's right here. This is 16 by 16, so you could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So actually this is my center. I was off by 1. Okay, so I'm going to line that right in the center. So now that I've got this placed exactly where I want it, I'm going to duplicate the layer. So what I do is I right click on the layer, and I duplicate layer. Oh, I have to set my transformation. If it doesn't do anything, you probably have to set your transformation. So if I hit the enter key, it should set that. There it goes. Now it duplicated. Okay. So now I can take this layer, and what I want to do is I want to rotate it so that the point, there's 2 here, by the way. There's 2 of these, okay? So what I want to do is rotate it so that it is opposite the first one that I made. So what I do is I take these little crosshairs. Now, if these crosshairs are not on, if they're not turned on your particular computer, sometimes they're not. The default setting, I think, is for them to not be turned on. So if those crosshairs are not on, what you want to do is go to Edit, Preferences, Tools, okay? And you want this box that says Show Reference Point when using Transform. Make sure that that is turned on, okay? And that will give you those little crosshairs. And what you want to do with those little crosshairs is drag them to the center, okay? Make sure they're centered on the grid. And then when I rotate, it rotates according to that reference point, that crosshair thing, okay? So I could set this anywhere, and it would rotate according to that axis, okay? But I want it right there in the middle. Okay, so once you've got it aligned, you can hold the Shift key, and as I rotate, it will snap right to those different points. And you can tell that it's aligned using the grid, okay? If I need to select both of these, set my transformation. I'm going to hold the Shift key and select them both. And you can see that my crosshairs are a smidge off. I'll zoom in, and they should be right on that center line, and they're not. So I'm just going to scooch them up so they're right there. Now they're perfectly centered. So you want to do that before you copy more, because you don't want to have the same issue over and over again. Okay, so once I've rotated the first 2, I can select 2 layers. So I'm holding the Shift key, selecting 2 layers, right click, duplicate layers. You're going to get a pop-up window. It keeps popping up on my second monitor. Okay, you're going to get a pop-up window, and you want to click OK. And now I have 2 more of these. Okay, so I can hold that Shift key and rotate them 90 degrees. Okay, or I can rotate them whatever amount I want. Now I can set my transformation, hitting the Enter key. I can select all 4 layers. Okay, I held the Shift key and selected 1 through 4 here. I can duplicate those layers, and then I can rotate and hold that Shift key to make it snap. And I've got my background design here, okay? So that was pretty fast to get all of those precisely aligned just the way I wanted them, okay? Once you've got your copies all aligned just the way you want them, you should group them, okay? And you should group them by folder. So what I'll do is, again, I'm going to select all of these green petal sort of shaped layers. Okay, I can click the top one and hold shift and click the bottom one and it will select all of them. Or I can hold the control key and click all of them one by one. Okay, either one works. I'm going to click the little file folder here and now I put them in a group. I'm going to rename that group Clover Background because this is going to be my background. Okay, up next will be the ladybug. Okay, I'm going to do my ladybug next. So I kind of want to first figure out where I want her to be placed. I'm thinking right about here. I'm going to rotate her so she is in a good spot. Once I've got her placed, I can resize her. If you need to resize something, just pull on the corner and that way it won't warp. If you pull on the sides, it shouldn't warp either. If for some reason you need to warp it, I don't recommend doing it. Please don't do that. But if you hold the shift key, it will stretch and everything. But that usually looks pretty terrible. Okay. So I'm going to figure out where I want my ladybug and I'm going to go through that exact same procedure. Okay. I right click on her layer, duplicate layer, move my little crosshairs to the center. Make sure they're right in that center. Okay. And then I can rotate and hold that shift key so I make sure I get her centered on the other side. Okay, duplicate 2 layers. Holding my shift key. Now, if you want to have just, maybe I want to overlap my ladybugs, or maybe I just want to have 6 instead of 8. That's totally fine if you want to like free rotate, but you want to make sure everything's nice and evenly placed. So for this one, I think I'm going to stick with the sets of 8 that I've got going on here. But I might change that for future ones. Duplicate those 4, rotate, and now I have my ladybugs. Okay, pretty fast, huh? Okay, now I'm going to group them. Group ladybugs. Okay, now that I've made my ladybugs and I've grouped them, if I want to, I can change the size of all of them. So I can make them get way bigger all at once rather than having to resize the individual ones. Okay, and again, I'm using my grid. So if I align this corner with this, with my grid over here, align this corner with my grid over here, I know that things will be nice and centered. Okay. I also advise you to turn off the grid every once in a while and check to make sure everything looks okay. So by, again, holding Control apostrophe or tapping Control apostrophe, now I can see how it looks without the grid. The grid can kind of make it a little cluttered. It's very helpful while you're using it, but sometimes it can add some clutter. Okay, turn it back on. Let's go to my penny. See a penny, pick it up, everybody. So for my penny, what I think I'm going to do, I think I want to put it here in the middle. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to overlap things when you have things that you want to overlap in a certain order. So I'll show you that. Okay, so I'm going to take my penny, duplicate it. Okay, this time I'm going to rotate, whoops. This time I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to move it to the center here. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, and I'll show you why in a moment. Okay, and then I'm going to make a copy of these 2, duplicate, okay, move those crosshairs to the center, which I believe is right here. Let me zoom in again. Make sure I'm getting it right on the center. There we go. And rotate that one. Just like that. Okay. So you can see this one is behind, they're kind of overlapping, but then this one should be half behind this one. So how do I fix that? What I can do is use my selection tools. I'm just going to use the rectangular marquee tool. And I want to take my layer 1 here, so that's this very first penny that I did, and I want to duplicate that, duplicate layer, okay. I'm going to move it to the top of my pennies, so now he's in front. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play a trick. I'm going to cut just the right side of it and delete it, and now I've got those 4 pennies overlapping in the way that I want, okay? So the sneaky trick is that there's only half a penny here. Okay, you can't really see it. It's seamless because I just copied and pasted it. Okay, so all I did was delete I deleted the right half of that penny. And you can't even tell. Okay? Alright. So now I can take all my penny layers and group them. Okay, let's group them. Call it penny. And move to the next one. Okay, so I've done almost everything. I'm still going to mess with the shooting star in a minute, but first I want to show you all how to reorder layers or to maybe reorder layers if you need to, okay? So I really like my horseshoes. I think they look cool. They're like a big wreath or something, but they're blocking a lot of other things. So I can move them down under the ladybugs. So now I can see those ladybugs a little bit better. Let me turn my grid off again so I can kind of see how things look. So I can see those ladybugs a little bit better. I might even move them under the clover to see how that looks. I think I like that better. Okay, and the other thing is, now that I've done that, I can see I have some space at the top of this clover. And the other thing is the fortune on my fortune cookies are kind of blocking the fingers, okay? So I'm going to go to the fortune cookies and I get my transform controls here. And I am going to enlarge this, and try to get those fortune cookies to land kind of in the middle of my clovers. I might need to rotate them a little bit. But that's the nice thing about groups, is that groups allow you to, move everything all at once, okay? And then I want the wrists on my crossed fingers to be under the pennies. So I want to move the pennies above the crossed fingers, and that looks better, okay? I have one more thing to add to show you to help fill out this white space out here. Oh, before I do that, you can see that my horseshoes are a little bit cut off on the edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this up here. I'm going to select all of my layers. So I'm holding the shift key. I'm starting at the top, moving down to the bottom. These are 2 that I haven't messed with yet, so I'm just going to leave those. But that has selected all my layers, and I'm going to squinch this up so that my horseshoes fit inside my white box here. Okay, so adjust my square, and I can move it right or left if I need to. Okay, there we go. So now it fits. Okay, we got a lot of empty space out here on the edges. And you can have white space out here if you want to, but if it seems extra empty, you can fill it with an image. And I'm going to show you how to sort of do that in a way that, while it's not radial, it will fill it in a way that kind of makes sense. So I'm going to use my shooting star for this one. The first thing I want to do when I use my use my image back here is I want to cut it into a square. So remember, you can use that rectangular marquee tool, and I'm going to click and drag while holding the shift key to make a perfect square. And then I can go to select, transform selection, and I can move it over, and I want to make sure I get that shooting star right in the middle. Okay, I hit enter. I need to rasterize it. If it says it's not directly editable, right click on it and click rasterize layer, and that will do it. Right click on the text of the layer and click rasterize layer. Okay, So now I should be able to do what I need to do. I can hit delete and delete everything, keep my square here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to deselect and use my move tool. Okay. And move it into that corner. Turn my grid back on. And I'm going to drag this into, so it takes up 1/4 of the space. Okay. Okay. Enter. Now I'm going to right click it and duplicate it again. Okay. Move this into this corner. Rotate it. Okay. If you have to fudge it a little bit to get it to fill out, that's okay. Okay. Hit enter. Okay, so now I've got it in 2 corners and I want to put it in this corner and this corner. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this layer. And I want to go to, edit, not image, go to edit, transform, and I'm going to flip vertical like that. So now I see how I'm getting a mirror image of this tree and my shooting stars are going in the other direction? That's exactly what I want, okay? And I'm going to click this one again, duplicate it, okay. Then I'm going to go to edit, transform, this time I'll flip horizontal. So now I get that 4-way mirror image, okay? Let's group these. Oops. Group these. Put them in a folder. I'm going to call this shooting star. And I'm probably going to put it all the way at the bottom. So now it's in the background. Now here's the problem. When I cut it, I kind of made my stars, you can't really see them. And I want to be able to see them. So how am I going to fix that? Well, that's the joy of Photoshop. I can just resize this to be a square. And now I can see those shooting stars. Turn my grid off. There we go. There's all my symbols of good luck. Okay, I never did use this other 4-leaf clover. Oh, you can't see my horseshoes. Oh, I think I put the shooting star inside the horseshoes. I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to put it under the horseshoes. There we go. All right, now with the horseshoes, I can't really see my shooting star again, so I might resize them a little bit more. I resized them all at once because I stuck my shooting star under my horseshoes. And let me resize this even once again. Okay, so now I've filled out my background. I don't have as much clutter. And I think I am done. Okay, so that is how you build your mandala, or your radial design rather. That is how you build your radial design. And I hope you guys enjoyed the process. I think they come out pretty cool looking. Okay, so if you have any questions, please reach out and let me know. Thank you so much.